Our main review is the fantastic Alien vs Predator on the Jaguar.
I'll now be explaining why Snow White is looking fairer than ever, thanks to a powerful computer, 3 lasers, and a little bit of artistic genius.
But first, have a look at this. All those visual effects were produced on...
The Amiga?
With the help of a toaster. Nah, not that kind of toaster. This kind of toaster. It's a special bit of hardware that's a cheaper version of the special effects equipment that we use to do this. Hey, that's enough of that. It was launched 7 years ago as an add-on for the Amiga, and it took the film and TV visual effects departments by storm. Programs such as Babylon 5, The X-Files and Sequest DSV couldn't have been made without the use of the toaster.
Now, for the first time, you can buy the software and run it on your home Amiga without the extra hardware. It's called Lightwave 3D, and it produces some pretty spectacular special effects. If you're a Babylon 5 fan, you'll recognise that, of course, as the Vorlon spaceship. How does it work? Well, I shall show you. It's a bit like making a movie, really. Now, the first thing you need to make a film is your artiste, in this case, the Vorlon spaceship. Then you've got to start by positioning your lights. And we can move the light in 3 dimensions. We can just move it up and over to the left. And the reason, by the way, that the Vorlon spaceship suddenly became a bounding box is because it's much easier for the computer to show me positions. Position of light's very important then, as is the position of your camera. Now, there's the camera on the right, there's the object in the centre, and these yellow dotted lines represent the field of view of the camera. So again, I can move it around, move it closer to my object, or further away, or take it above it. Flick back to look through the camera. I'm still not entirely happy with that, so we'll move it, but this time we'll move it by looking through the viewfinder. So we'll bring that around to about, I think there should be my starting position. That's the lights and the camera in the right positions. Now, for the action. We have to tell the computer where we want our object to start. So we create what they call a keyframe, which is the beginning frame of our animation. Then we tell the system what we'd like to happen in the first 20 frames of our animation. And in those first 20 frames, I think the spaceship should go away from me and then sort of slightly over to the left. And that's the first 20 frames dealt with. And in the second 20 frames, we'll have the ship move up and possibly rotate on its axis. And then in the final 20 frames of the animation, bringing the total to 60, I'll get my object to shoot out of the left of the viewfinder. Right, that's the computer busy thinking about how our animation will look in its wireframe version. It takes a couple of seconds to do that. And believe it or not, that's exactly how the animations for Babylon 5 were made, albeit with 30 Amigas strung end to end. Yeah, that's right, 30. So now, let's run it. There we are. I completed Babylon 5 Vorlon spaceship animation, but it still doesn't look terribly realistic, does it? So we've got to add some texture to it. OK, let's just start the final rendering. And through the magic of television, this is what the final animation looks like.
Without the Amiga and this extra bit of hardware, they couldn't have made Babylon 5. So with the right kit, a good imagination and a lot of patience, you can produce some amazing images that look almost real.
Hello, Furtlers. Today, how to play your favourite sports indoors. First, football. Now, this is one way to play indoor soccer, but it's boring. And here's another way, FIFA Soccer on the Mega CD. Now, you can make this a bit less boring by using this cheat, which lets you turn on a crazy curved ball. On the options screen, just type in BACBCC, and there you go, curved ball on. Well, hey, look at that crazy curved ball. But it's still not as much fun as real indoor soccer. Now, to play that, first, you need to clear a space in a suitable room and then use some odd bits of furniture for goals, right? I almost forgot. Don't attempt to play indoor soccer with 2 full 11-a-side teams. It's best to play it with no more than 9-a-side. Whoa! Yes! Go! Celebrate!
He must be sick as a parrot. Our main review this week is Alien vs Predator on the Jaguar, which hits the shops tomorrow. It's a first-person action adventure in the classic Doom style. There are 3 ways to play the game. As a colonial marine, you're the only human left alive in an alien-infested spaceship. When you play as an alien, your mission is to rescue the Queen from the Predator's lair. And if you choose to play Predator, your only aim in life is to capture the alien Queen. Remember, though, in space, no one can hear you scream. Here's Aisha.
What on earth got a hold of this guy?
This is not the sort of game you can just pick up and start bashing at buttons. You need to employ a lot of strategy if you're going to get through it. I prefer to play as the Marine, as there's a lot more of a challenge. The idea as the Marine is to collect security cards which will give you access to different places. I've just collected one. It's a really terrifying game. I daren't play it on my own at night as the graphics and sound are so outstanding that you actually feel as if you're there. It's really scary. I found an alien cocoon up ahead and it's really scary because you don't know what's in them. Uh-oh, this one's a face sucker. The graphics are amazing as the Predator. You can change your view so you can actually see in infrared, which makes it easier to spot the Marines. This is an amazing game. It's so good, it's worth buying a Jaguar for.
It's lovely and gory. Fans of the films would love this.
I can see the appeal, but it's just not for me. I couldn't really be bothered with all the tactical play.
And the scores for Alien vs Predator, both the boys and the girls gave it an acid-dripping 4 out of 5.
In 1988, this camera revolutionized photography. It was the first to use a roll of film instead of bulky, messy glass plates. The camera and the film were invented by a New Yorker called George Eastman, and he called his new camera the Kodak. 100 years on, the company Eastman founded, also called Kodak, is again leading a revolution, this time in the way movies are being made. Enter the computer camera left. This is Kodak's CineSight facility right here in Hollywood. This is one of the few places in the world that can produce computer images good enough to be projected onto a giant movie screen and still look real. Since they opened 2 years ago, the wizards at CineSight have helped some of Hollywood's top directors perform all sorts of trickery in their movies, most of which you're not supposed to spot. And this is how they do it. This is a scene from City Slickers 2.
What we have here are 3 different elements, or 3 different images we're going to put together into a final piece. They are the background image, Mr. Billy Crystal there, and we also have his 2 other actors on another green screen. So there are 3 pieces we'll put together with the background. What we did to really make this image look real is we added some rocks here. That's the challenge, is to make it look like it was a real shot.
Before this technology was available, a scene like this could only have been shot using stunt doubles. It's just too dangerous to risk your stars on the edge of a mountain, and you'd never have got those rocks falling at just the right moment. One of the most precise and high-tech machines is the Cineon scanner. It converts each frame of film into numbers that the computers can understand. In fact, the numbers are staggering. It takes about 40 megabytes of computer memory to store a single frame of film. That's equivalent to about 80 floppy disks full, and there's 24 frames for each second of a film. That's why the computers here have to be the most powerful graphics machines ever made, and every meg of power was needed for CineSight's biggest project so far. It involved all 119,550 frames of a movie that was first released nearly 60 years ago. Are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. Once upon a time, there was a film called Snow White. It was the first ever full-length animated film. But poor Snow White, she never quite looked her best. When the film was being made, the animators used a new technique that involves shooting the red, green, and blue parts of the picture onto separate rolls of film. But there were bits of dirt and dust on the glass used to hold down the drawings, and these showed up on the film as different colored blots. These blemishes have appeared on every print of Snow White ever shown, until now. Some of the retouching was automated, but each frame had to be looked at by an experienced operator to make sure that the computer wasn't accidentally removing part of the original painting. The ultimate test was to show the restored footage to 4 of the film's original animators. Their verdict? Snow White was once again the fairest in the land. Whatever has been done electronically to a movie, the final step in this process is to use this machine to print computer images back onto film. It uses 3 laser beams, red, green, and blue, to do so very precisely. Old George Eastman wouldn't recognize most of the technology here, but it's a great tribute to his invention that still today, there's no better way to record images than on film.
Wright in Hollywood, and if you want to see the cleaned-up version of Snow White for yourself, it came out on Disney Home Video yesterday.
Now for this week's news and previews.
A new American software company will be storming the CD formats this Christmas. Lodestar, the legend of Tully Bodine for the PC CD-ROM, has been created by a group of movie veterans and games programmers who call themselves Rocket Science. Tully Bodine is the skipper of the space freighter Lodestar, and in this adventure, he's smuggling contraband camels to Mars, as you do.
Official, the 32X add-on for the Mega Drive, or Mega 32 as it's known over here, will cost £170. That's 20 quid more than expected. You'll get 5 £10 game vouchers with the system, but sadly, there'll only be 4 games available before Christmas, including this one, Star Wars Arcade.
Between level sequences just keep getting better and better. This is Lands of Lore 2 for the PC CD-ROM, due out next spring. It's a graphic adventure with pretty adventurous graphics. Like the first Lands of Lore, there's plenty of dungeons, dragons and gothic stuff. Oh, and the gameplay's shaping up nicely too.
Hello again, Furtlers. Hey, my next indoor sport is basketball. I'm just making a hole in the ceiling for the hoop. Now, while the dust settles, here's a brilliant cheat for NBA Jam on the SNES. It speeds it up to blistering pace. Now, on the tonight's match up screen, you've got to press any button as quickly as you can 13 times, then hold down B and X. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, B and X. And there's the word juice, and look at those players go. Hey! And now for some real indoor basketball. Whoa! Oh, I was enjoying that. This'll soon dislodge it.
That's what I call a nam dunk. Woo! Ah, thanks, guys. Basketball is Britain's fastest growing sport. It's fast, fun and easy to get into. But if you're not up to the real thing, there are loads of brilliant computer games. Everyone's getting in on the act. Even the Looney Tunes mob have got their hands on the ball in a new game called Hoop It Up, which is out before Christmas. It's got loads of sub-games, options and plenty of slapstick humour. Meanwhile, basketball superstars are taking over other sorts of games. Here's Shaquille O'Neal in his own martial arts adventure, Shaq Fu. And Michael Jordan is the star of a brand new platform game, Chaos in the Windy City, which we're reviewing later in the programme.
But NBA Jam is the game that started it all last summer. The SNES version's a 2-on-2. It's virtually arcade perfect, easy to play, and has very quickly become the yardstick by which all other basketball games are measured.
We got our hands on a copy of its big brother, NBA Jam Tournament Edition, which is out next year on SNES and Mega Drive. In fact, it's so new that it's still on chips. And who better to test it than...
Name, Anthony Juice Joseph. Plays for Doncaster Panthers. Height, 6'4". Weight, 182 pounds. Born, Brooklyn, New York.
So, Juice, then, what do you reckon?
This game here is excellent. Unlike NBA Jam 1, the tackling on here is much better. And it has some of the newer players in the league, some of the newer rookies.
Now, you can make substitutions as well, can't you?
Yeah, unlike the first NBA Jam, you can only have 2 players. In this one, you can substitute.
OK, then, show us one of these new spectacular dunks. Yes!
There we go.
But not all basketball is played on posh courts with high-priced players. I've been looking at a new street basketball game, Jam It, with my tall friend.
Name, Chris Castle. Plays for Sheffield Hatters. Height, 6'2". Weight, wouldn't tell us. Born, Essex, England.
Jam It will be out on the SNES and Mega Drive next year. Chris, hi, welcome to the programme. What do you think of Jam It, then?
It's a pretty good game. I think the set looks something like White Men Can't Jump or something out of it.
Is it an easy game to pick up and play?
I've been working on it for the last few hours and I haven't found it that easy.
And what about when you go in for the slam dunk, the close-up?
Let's see, there we go. Well, when that actually happens, you lose all concept of the rest of the game. You're not quite sure where you are.
But for the purists, there's a brand new game out next week on SNES and Mega Drive, NBA Live 95. It's a 5-on-5 game that's a much more of a serious basketball simulation than NBA Jam. Mark's been looking at this one.
Name, Mark Harvey. Plays for Doncaster Panthers. Height, 6'9". Weight, more than the other 2. Born, Niagara Falls, Canada.
So, Mark, what's the verdict?
Well, I like the way it plays. I mean, as a player, it's very close to a real basketball game. The players can do a lot of the things that you would normally find players doing when they play basketball. And as a coach, I like the way that you can interchange players, create a team of your own, have players getting tired, having them get injured. It's a very good simulation. The graphics are okay, and I also like the sound effects.
Can you think of any down points, though?
Well, I don't think it's as spectacular as some of the games, but other than that, it's a very good simulation.
And you can design your own dream team, can't you?
Yeah, I've got my dream team out. It's a team full of Shaquille O'Neals.
Excellent.
OK, Juice, you've looked at and played all the basketball games we've been reviewing today. You're quite a serious game to play. Which one do you like best?
NBA Live 95 is definitely the best.
This is the Mega Drive version, which is just as good as the SNES. Why do you like it so much?
So realistic. I mean, the players, I mean, you can run up and down and make moves just like you can do on the real court.
Watch when you're playing, you're checking about like you're really out there, aren't
Definitely. You get into this game, you could definitely break a sweat playing this one.
OK, so you want to play basketball like Juice? Get yourself Live 95. Now for some more games reviews.
You just can't move for basketball players these days. Here's American NBA star Michael Jordan in his very own platform adventure on the SNES, Chaos in the Windy City. The big man has to rescue 20 of the world's greatest basketball players who've been kidnapped by a mad scientist. The theme is strongly basketball. Jordan's weapons are basketballs, and even the baddies appear to have balls instead of heads. Weird. Here's Lee.
This is a great game for all basketball fans that are into platform games, because it uses a lot of basketball skills and movements. The game's got a very strong puzzle element to it. Here I'm rescuing the first of the 20 basketball players I've got to save. Now I'm asking him questions which will help me along through the game. He's now given me a key which will help me get off the level. Now I can unlock doors, which will either give me good things like special weapons or power-ups, or there'll be baddies behind it. This game will probably sell because of Michael Jordan's name, but it's a playable game anyway.
It's okay, but I prefer a straightforward basketball game or an ordinary platformer, but it doesn't do either job properly.
Nice idea, but the levels are too similar.
Scores then. Michael Jordan's Chaos in the Windy City gets a slam-dunking 4 from the boys, but a pretty average 3 from the girls.
All of a sudden, Amiga owners are spoilt for choice when it comes to platform games. The latest is Rough and Tumble, starring a cute kid with a submachine gun. Rough is trapped in a fantasy world after he fell down a rabbit hole. The only way out is to shoot everything in sight and cause as much devastation as possible. Usual thing then, but what's it like to play? Here's Paul.
It's a nice platform shoot-'em-up. Not very original, but highly polished and great gameplay. This is a very hard game, as you can see from this robot who's trying to kill me. If it hits me 3 times, I'm dead. So instead of having to go back to the beginning of the game when I die, I can hit that point which I've just hit and come back there. Even though it is a shoot-'em-up, there is a bit of puzzle element to it. I can climb up this ladder which I've just formed. He's quite a cool character, as you can see by his hair, it sort of sways in the wind, and his gun which gives brilliant recoil. It's the best Amiga platform game for a long time, well worth getting.
I love this. It's a real exciting game with loads to collect and a great range of weapons.
The gameplay didn't grab me, but it looks great.
And the scores for Rough and Tumble, both the boys and the girls gave it a solid 4 out of 5.
Last week's competition prize was a SNES and a copy of the game Dragon. And the question was, which actor's life story was told in the movie Dragon? The answer was, of course, Bruce Lee. We had over 21,000 phone calls, but the lucky winner was Lance Jones from Swansea. Well done. 10 runners-up get Bad Influence T-shirts.
This week's competition prize is a SNES with NBA Live 95, a multi-tap, oh yeah, and some basketball gear in case you get bored with playing the real thing. And the competition question is, what's the regulation height for a basketball hoop? What's the regulation height for a basketball hoop? Phone in your answer on 0891 555 999, 0891 555 999. The call will cost you no more than 25p, but do please get permission before you dial, because, as we know,
you can't win if you don't ask permission.
And we do check.
We'll play you out now with a clip of Dynamite Heady, our main review for next week.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Come on, Juice, be better.